gotta
Just
go through
have
the
to
settings.
set
Give
up
me
a
one
couple
good.
things.
So
Yeah,
we
I
about
just
to go
gotta learn
live
how to.
here. Yeah, we live again. Cool. So Ron gonna join us a little bit later. Once we get everything tweeted out, that's definitely when it's go time. But um, that one thing I didn't have like a plan on streaming, but ever since like the news story that just came out with the white collar crime, um, that shit's glorious. Like that's one of the biggest stories. Like people don't. There's a lot of shit going on right now, but people don't realize how fucking big of a story that is. Cause that
I
actually
Who has a
sums up.
good article on it?
It's I'm all fine. I have it bookmarked on my Twitter. I'm gonna pull it up. Like it's a long ass article from BuzzFeed. They're the one that originally broke it.
Oh, BuzzFeed broke it. Yeah.
Yeah, they originally broke it. Like I said, um, I'm gonna find it. It's gonna be pretty easy to find the article, and then we can pull it up, and then we can go through it because it's a lot. Like it was a lot of detail. Like I said, I just did a little bit of pre-research.
Yeah.
Not even that long. And it actually lays out a lot of people who got fucking busted.
Oh my god.
And then like all these banks are enabling this money laundering that's going on. Meanwhile, they're going after uh the street economy pretty much. Like people go to jail for dime bags and shit. And these people are literally financing terrorism. Like bro, it's literally that deep. Like billions of dollars of things that was linked to terrorism, linked to a lot of mafia and organized crime. And this is the kind of shit that funded Epstein. Cause Deutsche Bank didn't I think he had a thing with Epstein as well. So it's like this is all this shit connects. So
Yeah, they took him on.
I was like, holy
yeah,
fuck.
I mean, it's been kind of an open secret that that's what the banks have been doing for like ever.
Yeah, the one said
It's
this
just
is
the problem
great.
is no one seems to care, or the right people don't care. I guess.
Yeah, like who's gonna hold them? Who's gonna hold them accountable? I mean, you'd have to have governments start actually cracking down on the banks, and that hasn't happened under.
That's never gonna happen.
So
all they do is give the banks more money. That's like their MO.
yeah.
Yeah, this is like it's so crazy because like everyone pretend Trump is some sort of um unique figure in Washington. Like he's a unique level of corruption. He's not.
That's
Like
what I keep.
Yeah, Trump has his white collar crimes that he was guilty of. But remember who Trump was friends with? He was friends with
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton, Bill
Mm-hmm.
Clinton, Epstein, and all the other white collar criminals and all the people that he hung out with. There are tons of pictures with Trump with all the high level politicians and influential figures. They all did it. Like Dianne Feinstein is a fucking white collar criminal as well. Like what did you call it? Like selling stocks? Like she got insider trading. Like she was literally
Yeah.
caught, and that was a big story. That was like a big thing at first because they caught
Yeah,
a few
that just kind of
Republicans.
went away.
They caught a few Republicans doing it. It was like everyone was like, "Oh my god, you guys are the
It was
worst
both my
people."
senators. Both my senators got
Damn,
caught
that's
doing that.
deep. That's deep.
I think Ron
I need to pull the
Johnson-
list up. I don't remember the full list, but I remember Feinstein for sure. It was this other lady Republican.
I think it was just because it was a bipartisan thing that it never turned into any real, because they couldn't turn it into a partisan issue. And so, if corrupt Democrats and corrupt Republicans are getting caught in the same way, they're not going to expose each other because it would mean exposing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it just never turns into a big story.
Yeah, and you see, they never attack Trump on that shit. Like they never attack Trump on his white collar crimes is tied to Saudi Arabia because they're guilty of it as well. And that's something I got articles saved that I use to this day because it shows the Russian oligarch connections that the Clinton Foundation had, and Hillary Clinton and her team and the Clinton Democratic apparatus, they don't get enough credit for being politically savvy as they are because they know one of the best strategies you can take is to take something that's a weakness of yours and use that to attack your enemy with. So she had a lot of Russian connections, and once again, I can pull the article up and I can literally lay out the facts regarding that. But she literally had Russian oligarch connections that funneled money to the Clinton Foundation. So she used that to accuse Trump, which he did the same thing. Once again, I'm not saying that Trump is innocent as well. My argument is that there's a systematic problem of white collar crime on almost elite levels. and this is only the stuff that we know. And one of the implications of the article, and I want to look through it myself. One of the implications was they was like, "Yo, this is just the stuff we know. Like this is the
Yeah,
stuff we have. We
I'm
don't we
sure
can't
it's
even
way worse.
imagine what it actually looks like." Let's see if I can find the article here, and I can we can go through this. And once again, like there's been so much like people that I don't understand. People pay attention to only a narrow amount of things because there's like new CIA reports came out that like pushing new RussiaGate. The Supreme Court is popping off crazy. We already lost that. Like that shit's over, son.
I can't believe liberals actually thought Mitt Romney would take their side. Like, what the?
Yeah,
you kidding me?
We'll talk about him later because I was like, man, like people got mad at me. Like, remember when there was the Mitt Romney's the American hero thing was trending,
Mhm.
and people get mad at me. And my biggest crime is criticizing their oligarchic choice, their favorite person, and that's why I'm guilty of. I don't. I remember Mitt Romney was my lesser of two evil vote in 2012, the last one. Cause I was like, dude, I can't let this fucking guy win. Fuck this guy. He's gonna be like George Bush again, all over again. And honestly, like Mitt Romney is not even he's far from the worst Republican now. That's why it's funny looking back at what I originally thought in 2012.
I mean, the bar for being decent or better than most Republicans is so low that like anyone could just tiptoe over it if they felt like it.
Yeah, you all gotta do is do some gestures, like show up to a Black Lives Matter march, pretend to chant with them or whatever. Then we got
and then go back to work, fucking us all over.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got a lot. Nice. We got some nice action in the chat here. So that's the thing. Like they're exactly like Trump in that way. Like because they have Joe Biden. He haven't even been campaigning, and I was laughing because we gotta do a live stream during the debate as well because.
Oh hell yeah!
I was telling people like this debate is gonna be either funny or it's gonna be boring as hell because
I think it's gonna be fucking hilarious.
I'm gonna be so fucking hammered at the end of that debate. It's gonna be nuts.
Trump is gonna he's gonna attack Biden on being weak on crime, and
Trump's gonna win the debate hands
down.
Joe
Biden's gonna take the debate.
I don't know if Biden is really juiced up and he's got some stamina to go the distance.
Well, I guess it depends on how long the debate is. I guess how long the meds.
Yeah, did they say how long the first one's supposed to be?
I actually haven't seen it yet.
I'll see if I can look it up.
Oh yeah, on top of all of that, bro. Jeez, let me pull this one up. This is a story I saw too, because there was another bombshell that hit today. The Pentagon. Actually, I'm
they stole $1 billion.
I saw this today. Like, bro, these are the things that should be on every news station. Like, they should be rotating. They should just be rotating between this story, the white collar crime story, the income inequality story, where we lost trillions of dollars over a course of generations. Like, these are the kind of stories that should be followed. Like, cause my main thing is anti-imperialism and railing against the military-industrial complex. And this is exactly why. This right here. Pentagon redirect pandemic funds to defense contractors. Redirected most of its $1 billion in pandemic funding. So they get pandemic funding.
Meanwhile, the poor just get fucked over.
Yeah, so many small businesses are closing. Like there's so many people that I think it was like 1/4 of our
$1 billion in pandemic funding to defense contractors who exchanged the money for jet engine parts, body armor, dress uniforms, and other military needs, the Washington Post reported on Tuesday. The CARES Act, passed by Congress in March, granted the Department of Defense $1 billion to both prevent and get ready to respond to the coronavirus. But the Post reported that in the weeks that followed, hundreds of millions of the taxpayer
money 1/4 of our generation is considering suicide. Y'all see that?
Yeah, that blew my mind when I saw that at first.
I was like, what? Do y'all mean like 1 in 4? Is that what you guys are saying right now? They're like, yep, 1 in 4. That's
honestly doesn't really surprise me.
And that's like when the story I heard when I literally had to reread that CBS article where it said 54 million Americans are set to go hungry by the end of this year. There are not enough people that there are people that report they don't have enough to eat. There's literally a hunger crisis in America right now. And I'm in that article said 54 million. I was like, 54 million? Like you realize on like perspective. I live in Kansas City. Kansas City got 600,000 people. 600,000 people in Kansas City, but 54 million people are set to go hungry. That's 100 Kansas cities. You got 100.
I mean, it's like
you got 100
it's
Kansas
really
cities.
like destabilizing shit. And it just seems like nobody is taking it serious enough.
Yeah, it's because this is the failure. This is like you got to put it on capitalism. That's what I believe. You have to put it on capitalism because if you have a system that constantly crashes every 10 years and you see the lack of upward mobility of wealth. And I shared this graph a few weeks ago, where there was a long-term study because there's these studies that constantly coming out that are rebukes of capitalism. Like there's no other way to say it other than that. They're a rebuke of capitalism. All these studies, and this study was showing how the American dream was pretty much myth. We all knew that, but it's always good to have data to show that because they were showing the silent generation, the boomers, Gen X, and all that stuff, and where their wealth was at, and when they either matched their parents' wealth or when they exceeded their parents' wealth. And there's graphs show that every generation, every decade, the percentage of people that either matched or suppressed their parents' wages, it was a lower percentage. So I want to see if I can I can find that graph, but it was like 30% one decade, 26% the next decade, 20%. Like it was like a drastic dip every decade.
Mhm.
And then the funny thing is, they didn't even get in our generation. It cut off at Gen X. Like it cut off in like the 90s because it was like a long term study. So it's like, bro, if you did our generation, like that shit would have been an even larger dip from
Oh
when they
yeah,
cut off in the
For sure.
90s. So that's the crazy thing when I actually read a study. And there's constantly these vindictive studies against capitalism that's coming out, and that's why I took my hardline stance that I did. I even changed my name. I even was like, fuck it, I go socialist MMA because I am my politics is a rebuke of the current neoliberal class and neoliberal capitalism. So, and
yeah.
that's
Give
what,
it a few weeks. I'll get you to be full on ML.
yeah, dude. I already like compared to January, I was a moderate in January compared to what I am now. I joke it's kind of true, but I joke all the time. Well, I say, man, like literally 10 years ago, because I'm 29 now. Like, if you asked me when I was like 19, like, would I be like friends with a ton of socialists, communists, and anarchists? I'd be like, what the fuck happened in my life? Like, what happened? But
Yeah, I
it
mean,
feels
10 years
natural,
ago,
right?
I think I was still a libertarian or something. Like, it was either
Yeah.
Republican or libertarian. Now it's like, yep, I'm a Marxist.
Yeah, I tell people the story all the time. I always had an anti-establishment edge, and I always kind of pushed back against mainstream talking points. I always was a kind of a contrarian asshole, especially as a teenager. I'm gonna be honest. But I still bought the line of the two-party system. Like I still would root for the Democratic Party, but I was still like I remember always hating Claire McCaskill, for example. Like so, there's like a lot of people and the Democratic Party, like, nah, fuck you, you full of shit, fuck you. But at the end of the day, like, I'll be like, man, yeah, we gotta still vote for Democrat or Republican. And I remember when I didn't vote for Claire McCaskill and when I didn't vote for her, that was like my first big fuck you to the Democratic Party. But that when she lied, like, yeah, fuck you, that was she getting. And she constantly just proves me right every single day. Every time she speaks, every time she opens her mouth, and when I see the direction that she went in her media career, I'm like, I feel justified because she literally was a Hillary Clinton clone. We had a Hillary Clinton as our senator in Missouri, and she was one of the people that fought against marijuana legalization in Missouri. So once again, I tell people these stories of what I know about the Democratic Party from where I'm from, in my local government, and people that I've been around. They're not our friends. Well,
What's the status of marijuana in Missouri? Is it
it's mostly
decriminalized at all? Is
mostly
it
decriminalized, and I think we just passed a ballot initiative in 2018 to do medical. So that's why I always tell people always vote. I mean, you don't vote for Biden or Trump, but vote for a Green Party. If Green Party's not on the ballot, look at your ballot initiatives in your local area. Like these are the real victories that actually matter in your life. So that's why I always push back on when I hear progressives say stuff like, "Hey, you shouldn't." Nah, fuck, I ain't a vote. I'm not gonna. We shouldn't
At
vote.
least vote
I'm like,
down
dude,
ballot.
that's our. I don't think electoral politics should be our main focus. But why will you throw out the little bit of power that you have? Why not
I
shoot
mean,
all your shots?
that's how we got people like AOC and Ilhan Omar. I mean, I'm not saying they're perfect. I mean, they're still liberals, but they're still way better than most of the Democrats.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think it's I mean, just don't make electoral politics the only answer,
right?
And you're fine. I mean, as long as everybody understands that it's going to be a multifaceted approach to the left gaining power, then yeah, I mean, of course, always vote, I think.
Yeah, voting is just a tiny little step that might make things just a little bit easier, but like depending on it to actually do some change, not going to happen.
Yeah, and my biggest thing and why I criticize some progressives in Congress so often is just because, I mean, it only matters if you're going to elect progressives into Congress. It only matters, and there's only really value there if they're willing to use their voices to speak out against corrupt corporate Democrats, I think. So, if you're just going to walk the party line when the corporate or the corrupt side of the Democratic Party is doing their thing, then you're kind of useless. So, we need more progressives that are willing to call out corporate Democrats by name and be specific with policy. There's no reason why people like AOC and Ilhan Omar shouldn't be pressuring the Democratic leadership on issues like Medicare for All, where an overwhelming majority of Democrats and an overwhelming majority of Americans support that policy. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Of course you should be pressuring corporate Democrats.
I think it's even like mid 40% of Republicans that were polled are for Medicare for All. Like if you can get half of Republicans to be okay with it, but why are we not doing this?
They just fearmonger with Republicans, and
the Democratic Party won't.
Yeah, they won't move an inch to the left because they're scared of what Trump is going to say, and he's just going to say the same stupid thing regardless.
But yeah, I've said this I don't know how many times, but people were afraid that they're going to call Bernie a socialist and that's why he's going to lose in the general. They're calling Biden a socialist. Whoever won was going to get called a socialist.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
The difference there is that Bernie Sanders would have been able to take that criticism, I guess, quote unquote criticism of calling someone a socialist, which really isn't anymore, but he could have taken that criticism and said, yeah, you know what, you can call me a socialist, but here's exactly how I'm going to improve your life materially with these policies. Whereas Biden is taking the same exact criticisms that Bernie would have, except he's going out and telling everybody why he sucks every day. He's going out and reminding everybody that he stands for nothing. And so it was such a strategic error for people to think that, first of all, that socialism charge wouldn't be leveled against Biden, because of course they were going to say that, but also that that Biden would be able to handle that charge better than Bernie. I think the complete opposite is true.
Bernie would have been able to talk circles around whoever.
Yeah, Bernie would embarrass that talking point. And also you got Joe Biden that constantly falling for the traps. Like I just posted today where he was like, "Well, I defeated socialism." And he
I guess that was supposed to be about Wisconsin or something.
Yeah, so it's like Trump and their team keep saying shit, and then Joe Biden will fall for the fake for them. For example, like they was call Joe Biden weak on law and order. Like, bro, we all know you wrote the crime bill. That's all you have to say. But then he was like, "No, I'm actually the law and order candidate. I want to have bigger police budgets." Donald Trump, he actually said Donald Trump actually wanted to defund the police. And I was like, bro, you are pissing the entire progressive base off saying this shit. And you got 5% Republican support. So what you're doing isn't helping you with winning Trump's team, Trump people over. And the only thing you're doing is pissing independent lefties like me off. You're not inspiring anyone to be enthusiastic. Anyone who usually don't support the Democrats to be enthusiastic about your campaign. So it's like, what are you doing? So it's like he fought for these traps. Imagine Bernie Sanders.
Right.
Yeah, imagine Bernie Sanders was the candidate in the same situation. He would be laughing at Trump because instead of
the economy,
yes,
and actually serious proposals as to how we're going to get the fuck out of this Great Depression economic collapse that we're in right now.
Yeah,
both candidates seem to think that the economy is fine or whatever because the Dow Jones is at I don't care. But those numbers don't affect probably 70-80% of people.
Yeah, instead of doing the lame ass Scranton versus Park Avenue attack, you would have Bernie Sanders actually hitting them on trade on Trump's actual weakness on trade, where he had a tax bill that actually incentivized outsourcing. When he actually lost, he had a large amount of jobs that was lost overseas under his presidency. Joe Biden doesn't attack him on that. Democrats don't attack him on these economic issues because they're just as guilty.
Yeah, they're gonna do the same thing.
Because Trump could always just counterattack like, no, fuck you, you didn't have to. You trying to pass TPP, and that's a battle that they don't want to even risk that battle. So they rather stick to these milk toast bullshit ass talking points. Like I'll retweet another one there today. I need to go on my timeline so I can find the damn videos. But there was one where Biden was just talking, Trump just doing a tough man act against Trump. Like, yeah, I'm not scared of bullies like you. like bitch, who's just gonna motivate, bro? No one cares about that shit. You need to talk about real economic policy. And you could have Bernie Sanders hitting Trump on foreign policy as well. Because you have Bernie Sanders who wasn't falling for Trump's bullshit. He had an actual bill that was designed to end the genocide in Yemen. You had Bernie Sanders. He wasn't talking enough as much as a lot of the left would like, but he actually pushed back against the Venezuelan talking points. But you had Biden who doubles down and said that he attacked Trump on the fact that he didn't get Maduro done. Like, not that we shouldn't have invaded that country.
He's actually running to the right of Trump on that. Like, how do you do that?
Like, bro, he literally funded a legal hit squad in Venezuela. They literally be in charge, by the way. Like, they don't talk about that in the media. And I need to look into it.
Seeing those pictures of them getting arrested was just so perfect.
One
of them pissed themselves. Senator, was it Chris Murphy who tweeted that? Who had that tweet thread talking about it, saying, you know, how disappointed he was and how embarrassed he was that the coup failed. Just openly tweeting about it on.
Like, this is a giant fail. I remember I was laughing so hard when that shit happened. I need to revisit.
We're at the point of openly calling for coups, and just no one cares.
Yeah, so when they have their debate, it's gonna be them literally comparing who's gonna be more hawkish on Venezuela.
Yeah, the first debate, the moderator is Chris
Wallace in the house now. Let's go. So yeah, they're gonna be literally like, all right, I'm gonna be the toughest on crime. Yeah, what's up, bro? What's good, homie?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We just need to see you now.
All right, hold on.
It's all good, bro. I say you got a nice setup. You got a nice setup in there. See,
I need to switch my flags around
we about to get in trouble today because we on stream.
Come on, camera. There we go.
But like I said, man, like they're gonna literally be arguing about who's gonna fund the police more. It's gonna be a shit show.
Yeah.
And
I can't wait, bro.
Like, oh my god. And they're gonna literally be like, yo, you're soft on Russia. Actually, I pulled out I pulled out the nuclear arms treaty. Joe Biden like, fuck that nuclear arms treaty. It'll be fucking nuts, man. And I don't know, I may be giving them too much credit. I might be, because they might not even talk about substance like that. like Joe Biden might challenge them to a push-up contest or some bullshit. That's what he said he was gonna do. I swear he might have some cheesy ass shit like that planned.
Isn't the debates are going to be on Fox, right?
Dude, actually, I need to look into exactly what they plan. I don't know how long it's going to be. This is the weak ass shit I was talking about. Let me pull this up. It's like, bro, this shit not helping nobody. This shit not getting no one fired up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit!
I saw that.
This shit 9 minutes, bro.
That decided I didn't even want to watch it, but now I guess.
But it pretty much just said, I really don't like guys like this in my neighborhood. Like, what the fuck you talking about, bro? Like, this shit not inspiring no one in the Midwest. Like, this shit might actually lose you Pennsylvania, bro. That shit is disgusting. I ain't even watch this whole thing. This shit actually 9 minutes, but pretty much what this is the speech I was talking about where he was doing that fake tough guy shit against Trump, and people pretend this guy is a decent person, and we talking about the corruption of the military-industrial complex. And this is something that a lot of progressives, they don't talk about. They don't talk about the actual anti-human rights violations that the military-industrial complex is responsible for, and what Joe Biden and Barack Obama actually did when it comes to going after the free press, going after Julian Assange for exposing war crimes. And there was a story that also came out once again. Like I constantly see these corruption stories, and I'm like, man, why don't people take this shit to heart? Because there's a story that came out that showed all the administrations lying about the Afghanistan war. It was a big thing in the Trump administration. It was a big thing in the Obama administration in 8 years under Joe Biden as well. And it was a thing under the George Bush administration. We had officials that were constantly lying about the status of the Afghanistan war, where they get false updates so they can keep continuing the war. And pretty much it was a giant propaganda campaign where they were feeding media apparatuses and a lot of the reporters false stories. And this is the kind of thing that he was responsible for. And when you see the military budget continue to increase, and when you see Joe Biden say he want to give more money to the military industrial complex, like this is the kind of corruption that he's complicit with. It said Congress instructed $1 billion in the CARES Act to go to the Defense Production Act. So that was supposed to allow Trump to manufacture necessary products such as personal protective equipment. But after the funding was allocated, the department lawyers concluded that the money could be used for defense production, including projects that had little to do with responding to the pandemic. Like I said, there's so much corruption in this, but that's something I wanted to point out in particular. Because that's literally them saying they allocated all this money towards the using this production act, and instead of using that to actually help the average American people out with the protective equipment, they said, no, we're going to use that for military equipment. What we got to do. And this is the kind of corruption you see all the time. Meanwhile, Joe Biden wants to give them more money. And we're going to see them debate that on stage. You're going to see Biden attacking Trump for not being a war hawk enough, not being strong enough on the military. And Trump going to say our military been destroyed and degraded, even though we passed massive increases of their budget. They increased the budget by like $180 billion last year alone. So it's like, this is the kind of shit that I talk about. Because a lot of people don't talk about foreign policy. I talk about this shit. I talk about the military because that's how you expose the two-party system as being a sham. If you're not talking about foreign policy, you're not talking about imperialism. What's really your argument against the two-party system? Like, I guess they annoy you, but I was radicalized. Yeah, I was radicalized by the Iraq War. I'm 29 years old. I think most of you guys are my similar age as me.
Yeah, I'm 30, so I'm right there with you.
I wasn't super involved in politics, but I was around during the George Bush era. And this is the question I ask Biden bros all the time. I'm like, okay, what is it about a Republican that necessarily disgusts you, that turn you off on them? Because for every action you say that would push you off for a Republican, Joe Biden is guilty of. Because when I was radicalized in the era when I said I was a dumb lip, I was radicalized against Republicans. And I told like, man, George Bush is pro-war. He's pro-trickle-down economics. He destroyed Mexican communities. He bombed Muslims. He destroyed the black community. Like, this is the kind of things I thought growing up, which is true. It is 100% true. But then
Obama came in and did the same exact fucking thing.
But those things that I laid out, doesn't that just apply to Joe Biden as well?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Exactly. So I'm like, so that's the logical leap a lot of people don't make. I'm like, bro, I'm anti-Republican. A lot of these people are like, oh, yo, this man socialist MMA, he's a Republican plant. Am I? Am I the guy that retweeted Project Lincoln? Am I the guy who was praising Mitt Romney 2 days ago, and now they're melting down him now?
How many Republican speakers do they have at their convention?
Yeah, exactly. They got John Kasich. He a fucking homophobe. They have him on their convention. He's anti-choice, warmongering piece of shit. He's at their convention. Meanwhile, I'm the Republican plant. So someone's playing to me the logic.
60 seconds.
Someone's playing to me the logic in that. They have candidates that say they was mentors of Henry Kissinger, but I'm the Republican plant.
They don't realize that Democrats and Republicans are basically the same people now.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was anti-Colin Kaepernick. She was against the Black Lives Matter. But I'm the Republican plant.
Too. I mean, she was full-on anti-indigenous people. Like, destroyed their communities. And we're supposed to praise her because now she's dead or whatever? I don't know. Fuck her.
Like, that's my point I made. Is like, bro, if you're related or you're close to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, hell, she's even your hero for some reason. I don't blame you. At the end of the day, But at the same time, you better not get upset with me when I set the record straight, because I made this tweet yesterday, and it's still true. One of the reasons why you see, I'm a big, I'm not like a professional history person at all, not even close, but I love reading history, amateur. So one thing that you notice throughout history is how history has always been morphed to tell a story that's favorable of the ruling class. For example, the ruling class pieces of shit are built up like heroes, like Christopher Columbus, George Washington. A lot of these people who was horrific actual people, but they get talked about as heroes for generations and generations until eventually left-wing scholars come back and they correct the record, and now we know a lot of the bad stuff they did. But for a long time, they always get held up as heroes. Why is that? That happens because when these people die, when the oligarchs die, people are too afraid of saying what they honestly think about them. Because they would go, I don't want to disrespect the dead. I feel you.
No, fuck her.
But history.
She got how many people killed?
But when you are someone of significant power.
That's how they did George Bush.
Yeah, they try to do it now. He haven't died yet. He haven't died yet.
Yeah, that when Michelle Obama gave him a piece of candy, or was it the other way around? I don't remember. All the liberals were just fawning over it.
When George Bush Sr. died, I remember, lefties was talking shit. He was like, "Fuck this nigga," like, oh well.
Yeah.
You can't say that right now. Like, oh man, I say I can't fight with these people. It's gonna be a long road with these people. Even some people that was like, war supporters or lefties pretending to be progressives. Liberals pretending to be lefties and whatnot. It was like, oh, you can't make fun of George Bush right now. You can't disrespect the dead. Shit, who says who? Like, man, y'all better get on with that.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, I grew up hating George Bush.
He's responsible for their death.
Like, bro, I grew up hating George Bush. And I see these people trying to rehabilitalize his image. I see people trying to build him up.
I think it's also because like they want to, they need that competition from the Republican Party, so they can't let the Republican Party go down with Trump. So they want that revival of that old George Bush style Republican or that Mitt Romney type Republican, because that's who they want to be pretend fighting with. That's who they want to do the little dance with that they do in politics. So it's like they're trying to, right now, what the Democrats should be doing if they actually wanted to obtain power is they would be aggressively trying to destroy the Republican Party right now and make sure they never win another election again by, changing structurally how our elections work and stuff. But they're not going to do that because they want that competition so they can keep doing nothing.
And that's one thing that actually radicalized me against Democrats early on. Even before I became like super anti-establishment, I remember starting to hate Democrats because I used to see how they used to go against Republicans. So I used to be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" Like even when I used to consider myself a Democrat, and when I used to consider myself on their team, I used to get really, really pissed off at Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and them, because I'm like, "Bro, you guys are literally propping up Republican ideas, and you guys attacking them on the stupidest shit. Like you guys can literally go for the throat. You guys can go for the jugular at any time. Bring up life expectancy in the red states. Bring up the fact that the income inequality has been horrible. Talk about the bailouts that the Republicans should be responsible for. I mean, the kind of stuff they should go after them for, they complicit with, so it's kind of hard. But if you have like a Bernie Sanders style leader, you can attack them for their war crimes. You can attack them for the Wall Street crimes and their insider trading and that kind of shit. But they never do. It's always stupid ass shit like, oh, he tweeted something. He tweeted something wrong. Ted Cruz, Ted Cruz, he got no balls. Remember that was trending? Ted Cruz got no balls. We got him.
They just as guilty. They're just as guilty as Trump, and his bills got to go through them before he even gets to the Senate. So they can't really say anything that's gonna bring too much attention to why is things like this or who put this into play. So they always gonna try to dump muddy up waters or water up your milk, just act like they are resisting, but in real life, they ain't too much really happening. Not really.
Yeah, like what are they actually resisting?
The left.
Well, yeah, no kidding. But like, what do they think they're resisting? Oh, the people that have like a hashtag resist in their bio on Twitter, like, what are you resisting?
the people that piss, the people piss me off that have Black Lives Matter in their fucking bio, but then they want to come at me and pretend that I'm too far left because I pushed defund the police. I mean, can we get something straight here? Can we set the record straight here for everyone? The people that are against defund the police, they are the unserious people, not the other way around. We are treated like we're the unserious people when we push for defund the police. Meanwhile, the opposition to defund the police are the same people that support politicians that support education budgets cuts. They support giant police budgets. And meanwhile, their criticism of this, and this is what Anderson Cooper did at the Joe Biden town hall. Anderson Cooper was like, man, we got crime rates that are so high in these cities. Why should we defund the police? And I'm like, how stupid is your brain? Do you know how my brain works? When I hear that, I'm like, okay, so you tell me you got giant police budgets, but we got high crime rates? Your question implies that defund the police doesn't work, but your question actually is indicative of our current system. Because you say we got high crime rates, but if giant police budgets were the answer to that, we wouldn't have high crime. So this shit drives me crazy. I'm like, bro, you got
the most
idiot.
heavily policed cities in the country. The most heavily policed cities in the country are some of the ones that have the highest crime rates.
And remind me, because I remember there was a story that came out years ago, how there was a strike at the NYPD, and then they went on strike, and then when they went on strike, the crime
rate went down.
I want more data like that. We need more data. Unfortunately, we don't have that data. Let's get the data. Let's defund.
We gotta get some data going on that.
Let's
defund. Literally had to stop they had to stop their strike because it made them look like jackasses.
You know what kills me about these bootlickers? They act like the post isn't a gang.
They cutting out a little bit.
They keep crime alive. Like I know there's a lot of gangs. You said what?
Your mic and video are like really cutting out a lot.
Yeah, I think the mic was just cutting out stuff.
Me.
I don't know if you have anything else open or if your internet's just not good.
I don't know. Maybe to try. I don't know that the mic or what.
Oh man,
it's all good.
But yeah, anyway, like the solution to reducing crime would be defund the police, use that money to actually fund programs for the poor areas, the ones that are causing all the crime and whatever, because most of it's crimes of necessity. If they're on, like, if they don't have to steal things to live,
my argument, my argument I'll make now, because there's so many people that are constantly behind the times, and when I follow politics, and when I think of what's important, I'm looking towards the future. I'm looking towards the future of our movements. And one thing that I thought was clear for a very long time is the civil rights movement got a lot done, but the civil rights movement left a lot of things undone. There are a lot of things that the civil rights movement got accomplished, but there are a lot of things they left out. And that's
because the leaders that kept pushing got assassinated.
Yeah, and the ones who had long lives, like John Lewis,
ended up bending the knee.
I say his name.
They ended up bending the knee.
They bend the knee. They push the prison industrial complex. They vote in a way that allowed Libya to be destroyed, and you retire a hero. You live a long life. When you're a revolutionary, unfortunately, you don't live a long life. And we have. There was an active effort on the government to go after the black community and go after the left-wing circles with the drug war because they wanted to give us felonies so we couldn't vote. And then while we're in prison, they can use our prison slave labor for cheap labor, obviously for the government, for the state. I mean, this is not new information. Liberals, you guys claim you know this. So if you know this, why are you backing a guy who want to give more funding to this racist system and maintain this new Jim Crow that I just outlined?
A lot of it is it doesn't affect them. There's a lot of people that are like, I mean, white women are pretty much the worst on this. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they are. Oh my God. They are literally the best defense of the oligarchy there is.
Yeah. It makes me want to detransition or something sometimes. Like, I don't want to be with, but seriously, like, it just doesn't affect white people most of the time. Like, especially if you're middle class. Yeah, you can know that the whole thing's racist and that they're killing black people and the poor and whatever, but I'll just go to brunch and forget about it.
That what me and Ron was talking about, because like you got so many white liberals in there. I see a lot of progressives teaming up with them now, man. It kind of pisses me off where the fascism didn't happen in their communities, so they trying to say it didn't happen until Trump got in office. They want to pretend that when the prison industrial complex and when the military industrial complex ruins the lives of brown people under Obama and Joe Biden, that's somehow more necessary. That's more forgivable when it happens under a Republican administration.
Mm-hmm.
You got progressives saying that. You got progressives believing this shit. So when I explain to people that law enforcement was infiltrated by white supremacy, when the FBI reported that decades ago. They reported that in 2004. And when you see down, let me pull. This is actually a great time to. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up right now because this is actually. I want to talk about this as well. This literally is trending right now. Oh, let me switch the tab over. This is the Breonna Taylor shit. I don't know that you guys seen this. Cause this is
Did they actually? Oh yeah, I saw that.
This is new.
Get made or
it came out today. I mean, there's this sergeant. I think he was literally one that involved in killing Breonna Taylor. He's like rallying the troops.
Out at 2 a.m.
Holy shit! You read that quote?
Yeah, it's like he's literally rallying the troops. Like I said, this is still breaking. So like I said, we can go through this together. But pretty much when I did my quick pre-start, I only looked into this for a few minutes, and I saw that there's like all these groups of cops rallying behind the killer of Breonna Taylor, and you have the government. He said he wrote this email to his colleagues at 2 a.m. Man, I want to get some real quotes here. But pretty much they said in his little manifesto he was calling protesters thugs and shit. Like he was like obviously part of the Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter crowd. Like he wasn't he had no empathy for murdering Breonna Taylor. You don't feel bad about it at all. He was more upset that people are calling them out. So
yeah, he's upset that he can't get away with literal murder.
He said, "I know we did the legal, moral, and ethical thing that night."
If it was legal, moral, and ethical, this wouldn't be a story.
He said he called protesters thugs and said it's good versus evil. What the fuck is this? Like this is what we like. This like. Do you think he's just got in charge under Trump? How long do you think this guy been in charge?
I bet he's been for like 10 years at least.
This motherfucker been in charge for a long time, and he got support of the highest leaders in their community, the cop community. I mean, they don't let anyone in. Look, this is an email group of 1,000 officers. You think they just let anyone in? You gotta be part of the club to be part of that email group. You know what I mean? And they all agree with him. So when it comes to this fight against oppression that we're going through right now, in this new civil rights era, this is the systematic racism. This is the police state. This is the fascism that people in my community have been fighting for a very long time. This is not a new fight for us. And this was Rome said earlier, and we talked about this before as well. Like Trump is not the worst thing to happen to black people. He just scared the shit out of white liberals because shit is getting real in their communities. And don't get me wrong, I sympathize. Cause you know the best argument someone made in terms of Biden, someone like, man, I'm a victim of Trump administration. That's the best argument you can make. Cause you like, man, I'm disabled and I'm scared about healthcare. My rebuttal to that, when I see tweets like that, I don't respond to it because I'm like, I get you, I understand. Mm-hmm. But the rebuttal to that is very simple. I'm like, bro, the person you literally just shifting the harm. You're shifting harm away from your community towards another community. Cause that's a point that Jackie made. Jackie, she made it a great point. Like, it's not harm reduction. You're shifting harm from from something that may be from your community to a community that Joe Biden and the Democrat Party are complicit towards hurting. For example, the Palestinians, they don't got a winner this election. How did the Palestinians win this election?
They are getting absolutely fucked either way.
Yeah, Kamala
Well, yeah, Kamala Harris came out and was at the what's it called? AIP.
APAC, yeah.
Whatever.
That
one. Whatever. And praising Israel and basically saying fuck Palestine without actually saying it. They're gonna get killed regardless of who wins. They're just fucked. But no one's really talking about it.
Yeah, there's so many communities like that. And like I said, when you hear people make the appeal of why they voting against Trump and they voting for Biden, I don't necessarily disagree with what they're saying, because they will say stuff like, "Hey, the good ones." I'm not talking about the bad ones, because there's a lot of bad ones. But I'm talking about the good pitches. They say stuff like, "Yeah, I'm disabled. I'm worried about my health care. I may be trans. I might be worried about LGBT rights or whatever. I'm worried about that kind of stuff." And when they say that, I'm like, "Bro, I get it. Vote and advocate for your community."
I get it.
But I can't justify voting for evil that gonna go against my community, and someone who I legitimately don't believe will improve the lives of your life and other people's lives that in your community and the other communities I stand solidarity with. Because, for example, I stand solidarity with the Latino community as well. And if you are not against abolishing ICE, I think you're disqualified, especially with the recent stories that have been coming out.
And if anything, Biden's gonna fund ICE even more.
Yes.
So who's
Kamala
winning?
Harris says she loves
I
ICE.
tell people they come to me about when they come to me about voting for it, can you please vote? That's what I'm just gonna tell you. Look, I don't know you. I really don't care about you. I'm just being real.
I mean, being real, that's how they feel against us.
And why you have to vote? Why would you want? Okay, your health care. I have a life too. Community really fucking 70s.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're cutting out a little bit, man. I don't know if it's the mic or what. I don't know what that is. Sorry, but it's
shit on my plate. Give a fuck. I'm gonna do what I have to do, but I don't. Hold on, let me see some.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool, bro. Yeah, take your time. We get figured out, bro. There's no rush, bro.
Because I don't want to be one fucking it up.
Yeah, you have to say it's all good, bro. Our stream is chill, man. I don't know if you want, because I know it was working before. Cause I don't know if it's the mic or I don't know what it is.
I mean, I have literally the exact.
It was fucking up before.
I hear you now. I hear you better now, though. I hear you better now, though. So go ahead, bro. I hear you better now, though.
All right. What the fuck I just said?
My point, the point we was on. My point that we was on is I understand, and I'm not gonna fight you, and that's why I say I don't respond to those people. Not because I'm not being respectful, because I'm like, okay, you have your point,
but I don't care. Being real.
Yeah, it's like, bro, you shifting harm. That's essentially what you're doing. That's why I hear when I see people say we gotta get rid of Trump, we gotta get Joe Biden in, even though Joe Biden is a threat to a lot of our communities. I don't know if they're saying that out of ignorance. I don't know if they think their cause is more important. I don't know how you, and that's worthy of debate. How do you weigh whose issue is the most important? Is your issues so much more important than Palestinian lives? Are they more important than Latinos? And the thing is, I'm not saying it's not. But what can we have the debate? I'm okay with that. I mean, I just don't. If I legitimately believed that Joe Biden would help, if I legitimately believe that Joe Biden would help, I will agree. But I can't. I don't think he would. When I see the people that he surrounded himself with, Larry Summers, Rahm Emanuel, having Kamala Harris as his VP pick, Pete Buttigieg is set to have a high cabinet position. Mitt Romney fucked up now, but they floated him as Secretary of State, so he's not gonna get it now because Mitt Romney sided with the right wing today. But yeah, real. You can see the kind of person they're looking for, though. That's the kind of person they're looking for. They're looking for a right winger like Mitt Romney. They're looking for the right wingers that fill in their administration. So it's like, I'm like, at this point, even if you say you're gonna support Medicare for all, I can't vote for you, because my thing is bro,
somebody like that anyway.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so even if you say you support some progressive policies, I didn't support Bernie Sanders just because he said he was progressive. I didn't support Bernie just because he said he was supporting Medicare for all. I said it because he had a track record of supporting these ideas, a long track record, and he surrounded himself with people like Brandon Joy Gray and Nina Turner, and a lot of great progressives, Gunnels, like Warren Gunnels as well. All Zephyr Teachout. Like I can go all day actually. So I can go all day with all these great progressives that Bernie Sanders surrounded himself with. So when he surrounded himself with those people, it made me believe that he wanted to do this shit. So when I look at Joe Biden and the people that Joe Biden surrounded himself with, why the fuck would I believe that he's gonna be anything other than a corporate puppet, warmongering tool? Like he surrounded himself with literally the worst warmongers, the worst trickle-down economics, the worst of the liberal class has to offer is on Joe Biden's team. The absolute worst. Wall Street was dancing in the street when Kamala Harris was picked.
Well, yeah, the last time we talked, like I pulled up the graph of the the private prison stock, and when she got
the people. Let me see if I can pull that Wall Street. That Wall Street.
So yeah, that one private prison stock jumped like 10% once she got announced as VP. It's like holy shit.
Let me see if I can fucking find it. I want to find a story about the corruption I was talking about earlier with the Wall Street and giant financial institutions. Because like, bro, the same people that are responsible for this same kind of corruption we talking about, this rampant white collar crime, is in Joe Biden's team. Like Joe Biden's literally taking donations. He's taking money from the people that are implicated in this article and in these stories are the people that are gonna have a lot of influence over Joe Biden's administration. Like you have people that literally saying that we should have people of color from Wall Street. They're like, oh, you gotta have people from Wall Street because you gotta have people of color in. Oh, shit, that's my man Philon. I think I'm saying, Felon. Fuck it. You know what I mean? He's my homie. Let's see what he's talking about. I'm trying to find a story, but unfortunately my internet, this stream, everything else slow. I'm trying to find that Wall Street story, man, because that shit is fucking nuts.
Yeah, if you want me to, like, if you put the link in Discord.
Yeah, actually, yeah. If you want to find it, pull it up. It just helps my load because, like I said, I'm managing a lot of shit here.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you find a link, just put it in Discord, and I can stream it on here.
So you pretty much my co-host, so that's how we handle that problem. Let's see what stream. Let's see what chat's on.
Because yeah, I did notice like when you stream a website or whatever, it starts getting choppy on YouTube. But
yeah, so I think that's better if you do it. Actually, then
so just toss the link in Discord and I'll pull it up.
I'm gonna retweet the link to the stream trying to get some more people here. You got good numbers though, not bad.
But just speaking of the stocks, though, same thing happened with health insurance stocks. Once Biden was the presumptive nominee, jumped like crazy. Once Bernie got out, I wonder why.
They know why, because they in the backroom deals. They actually talking to these people. There was a story that just came out a few weeks ago. Cause you know how they had Joe Biden's progressive policy task force, and then I think a lot of you guys seen this story where a lot of people the Biden team was telling their donors, they were like, oh no, don't worry about those policies. It's not to be anything we actually pursue.
And that's what we were all saying from the beginning. It's like this task force is pointless. Why are you doing this?
And guess who got attacked for saying that shit? We did. Cause I mean, when the whole policy task force started, it was like, oh man, Nick, you're such a negative Nancy. Why are you against everything that Bernie and AOC does?
It was such a stupid idea from the outset, because it's like we all know what the policies were that people overwhelmingly supported from Bernie Sanders' agenda. You could just come out and say you support them, or you could come out and commit to supporting them. We don't need to have. What are the task forces even doing?
Bro,
They're
when they say there was no legal
that you're then not going to commit to.
When they say there was no legal weed, I'm like, fucking get out of here. I didn't even look at the rest. I didn't even look at the rest of it. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. No legal weed, no Medicare for all. Are you kidding me? $15.
All it was a ploy to try and get progressives to be like, oh, Biden might not be that bad. It's like it's just marketing.
Literally, most transparent shit I've ever seen in my life. And we like, I feel like Rose Twitter and progressives in general, we get in a lot of trouble for saying shit that's fucking obvious. That's obviously gonna happen.
The moment that I heard about that task force is like, okay, that's gonna be pointless.
Cause we like, bro, you're not gonna push Biden to the left literally giving your vote away 6 months
He's
before the
already
fucking
moving
election.
to the right. He's moving to the right of his own policies.
Yeah.
So progressives signed up with Biden, and they was like, "Thanks, suckers. we altered the races to the right," and they literally running a right wing campaign.
We'll be arguing.
I'd argue Biden's the right of Trump on just about everything now.
Foreign policy for sure.
I mean, yeah, I'm willing to entertain that. I'm willing to entertain that argument. I'm willing to. A lot of people wouldn't be willing to tolerate that shit. But Joe Biden is horrible.
He's got a D after his name. He can't be to the right.
I've been trying, man. Liberals been annoying me so much. Like, I've been trying my best to stay neutral on the race itself, because my argument is, and it remains, that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are the same kind of evil. So if I say that I prefer, if I say I prefer Biden win over Trump, or Trump win over Biden, that me kind of contradicting my statement. I could say that there's some things that may be politically advantageous for Biden to win, but I still maintain that they are the same kind of evil, because if you look at the amount of damage that Joe Biden has done to the black community in the last 40 years, who's done more in public service?
Biden has way more blood on his hands than Trump could even dream of.
So when you bring that up, liberals are really quick to block your ass.
That's why
I said when you bring up, you said I'm willing to say that Joe Biden to the right of Donald Trump. I'm like, yeah, I feel you. I'm like, that's just my reaction to it. Like, yeah, I feel you, bro. I definitely see that.
Honestly, I still can't figure out which one I want to actually win the election, because both are going to be just absolute dog shit. Yeah, I go back and forth a lot too, but like,
I'm like, all right,
if Biden wins, the liberals shut up and go back to their own lives and whatever, so we can't really radicalize them.
I think yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna definitely suck either way, but I guess if I had one Biden argument, I guess I think maybe it would be easier. Maybe he would throw less people in vans. Maybe he would, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
but at the same time,
pretty much the same thing. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. But either way, there needs to be that mass people's uprising. There needs to be, nationwide movement and mobilization of people.
And I think Trump winning might actually spark that, which is why I go back and forth.
Yeah,
like, I don't want him to win, but at the same time, you can go the accelerationist route and be like, hey, well, if things are like really shitty.
Yeah, Dr. Cornel West has the best argument for it. Like, no one make a better argument than Dr. Cornel West. I prefer the argument of Chris Hitchens or whatever, Chris Hedges. Sorry, I prefer Chris Hedges. Cause he argues that we shouldn't. I'm more of his camp, that we can't vote and elevate this illegitimate state, because we're in an illegitimate state. Don't get it twisted. So when I say we're an illegitimate state, and when I say we're a state of massive evil, how hypocritical would it look for me if I'm voting for Joe Biden, who was an instrument of all the evil I'm complaining about?
You're propping up the very person that did it.
So when I complain, because one thing I talk about in politics, even before Joe Biden was a nominee, like, look at my timeline. Look why you talk about even before Joe Biden won. The thing you talk about how Democrats used to destroy the black community. I would talk about how the Democrats wasn't on our team. They wasn't our allies. They was sheep in wolf clothing or whatever. That was why I was preaching. And then Joe Biden wins. So I'm like, bro, you got to prove everything I was saying right about you. So if I was right about you, why the fuck would I vote for you if you just prove me right? For example, if they would vote for Bernie Sanders, guess what? I might have been wrong. And I would have been willing to admit that. I'm like, man, I can't believe the Democrats let Bernie Sanders win. That's crazy. I guess they actually willing to let progressives win. I guess I'll vote blue down ballot, and that's what I would have done. I would have done that.
If Bernie won, yeah, I was going to vote.
But they proved me right throughout the course of this primary, because it's unbelievable. Joe, in any reality, no matter how much bias, Bernie Sanders should have landslided Joe Biden. And in any reasonable party.
He just wasn't willing to go for the kill shots when he had the opportunities.
I mean, if you look at the difference between the records, no matter what, I mean, this is the camp I'm in. Like, no matter what, Bernie Sanders should beat this motherfucker in a landslide. So I'm like, bro, your party is so right, and you guys don't deserve my vote. Are you
He should
kidding
have
me?
branded him. He really should have branded him as Hillary 2.0 and made that
Exactly.
sort of
Yeah,
argument.
the debates,
I
he was
agree.
way too soft on Biden.
Yeah, and
Like,
he
there's
was
so much to attack him on.
How many times did they ask him, like, will you support Biden if he's the nominee, or will you support candidate X if they're the nominee? And so he was just constantly having to cave in on that and say, yeah, I'll support him. Yeah, basically, as they were admitting, if you have the plurality, as they were admitting, if you have the plurality, we're going to steal the election from you anyways. And he was still capitulating. He was still giving in.
It really hurt.
Like, there's theories out there that they threatened him with something or his family, and like, yeah, I can see that happening.
It really hurts when the moment where he was like, "Yeah, Joe Biden, I think he can beat Trump." I was like, "Fuck, we're not coming back." Like that was the moment.
That was the moment.
That was
Bernie
like, yeah.
gave it all up.
I was like, "Yep, we're fucked." I was like, "Yep, it's not happening."
He really needed to do what Trump did and just take the party hostage and just say, fuck it. I'm not going to support you. I'm not going to support whoever you guys nominate if you steal it from me. Or even after he lost, even after he backed out, should have gone to Biden and said, I'm not going to campaign or support you unless you do this, this, and this.
Yeah, people who pretend that Bernie Sanders and the squad had no choice, they're not being serious. They had a choice. They have options. Like you can fulfill that contract, but you can still use your political capital. Like Bernie Sanders and AOC and the squad, they punted their political capital to stay safe. I mean, squad, they had a re-election coming up. Bernie Sanders, for whatever, he don't want to be Ralph Nader. What was that?
I don't even think it would have mattered for, like progressives in Congress if they had broken from the Democratic Party. I still think they would have been safe in their races because
I agree.
Everything they support is overwhelmingly supported.
Now they are definitely safe because all the primaries are done. So, and most of the squad's like going to win by 60 points kind of districts. So
and they could still do that now. They could still
they could
take the party hostage. I mean, they could take the party hostage if they just chose to, but they still choose not to for some reason.
Yeah,
I mean, I still maintain that, like AOC alone, with the platform that she has, with the support that she has, she could single-handedly take down somebody like Nancy Pelosi and their corruption. She could single-handedly go after these people and just eviscerate them by pointing out facts. And I don't understand what's stopping them from doing it. I guess they're nervous about doing it close to an election, but
I think they're kind of comfortable too, because we all know the corrupting influence of Washington. So why do we think these people are beyond being corrupted?
Yeah, I mean,
when I say corruption, I mean there's levels to this shit. I'm not talking about their Wall Street sellouts. I may say they may have been influenced because they like the level of status they maintain, the level of comfort that they have in their life that they never experienced before. Because AOC was a working class person for the majority of her life, like bartender.
Yeah, they shit talk her for being a bartender.
Now she's in a position of amazing influence, and honestly, she lives in a lot of comfort, I imagine. There's a level you don't want to risk that shit, and you're around people who like you're around Washington, and honestly, these people are politicians. Like a lot of people don't give these people enough credit. I've been around car salesmen my whole life, and they don't hold a candle to politicians. I've been around a few. I literally felt this war around Toasty as well. Like these people are charming motherfuckers. Like they're good at getting people to like them and drop their guard. So imagine if you're around these people and you have I don't know. Let me think of just an example. Imagine you had Chuck Schumer. They're like, "Hey, AOC, let me buy you some lunch today," and you talk to him and you're like, "Oh man, this dude Chuck, he actually not a bad guy." and then you have Bernie Sanders talking to Joe Biden, and he's like, "Man, Joe Biden, he's a swell dude." I literally believe Bernie Sanders when he said that. I bet Bernie Sanders just get along with Joe Biden behind the scene. They like, "Hey man, how you Bernie? How you doing?" And I'm doing good, Joe. How you doing? How your kids doing? They're doing good. Like they have like the casual conversation, and that help give a human face, even though they are responsible for inhuman acts, even though they're responsible for a great amount of evil. It's easier to forgive them when you have that cordial relationship. So that when I say AOC has been corrupted, once again, don't be a drama queen. I'm not talking about I'm not saying she's Dianne Feinstein. I'm saying that she's softened to these people a little bit because she got to know them. They may have said something nice to her. And so that's human instinct.
It's just losing the edge.
Yeah, that human instinct. So our job as a constituency is to drag her back, not to put her as a politician. Like I said, when I made my criticism of these people, I'm like, bro, I'm not canceling nobody. Our job is to push them. I'm not here to set anyone up as a celebrity figure. Fuck that. No one's above criticism.
I keep
Exactly.
Yeah.
Y'all are saying AOC. Y'all are saying AOC. Pelosi.
You cut out halfway through there.
Yeah, well, I heard something. Damn. It's all good. But
am I freezing again?
Yeah, a little bit.
Just come back on my phone.
It's all good. But that's my point though. Like
I'm about to just come back on my phone.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. Like I said, like my whole point. That's why I criticize our progressive leaders.
Yeah, anymore. I'm sorry, man.
It's all good. When I tell people my criticism is criticism of them on the left. I mean, when people pretend that my criticism of them back in the corporate bailouts, my criticism of them is not organizing a general strike, because a lot of people that follow my Twitter follow what I've been doing on my activist stuff locally. I've been reaching out to local activists. I've reached out to Casey Tennant, Casey Sunrise, a few local labor leaders in my area. It's hard to get a general strike going.
Well, yeah, we need mutual aid for the people that are going to be striking. Otherwise, they're going to be homeless, jobless, carless, and
it's like, bro, I don't have anywhere near the influence. And there was a lot of activists like, man, the will is so close, but not necessarily there. We get that will over that hump by having people like Bernie Sanders and AOC demanding a general strike. Can you imagine?
Easily could do it. They easily could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what Bernie Sanders should have done when he lost. He should have just immediately began organizing.
Yeah, he's great at organizing. I mean, look at the movement not exactly started, but, really got going.
Grown sizably, yeah, for sure. I mean, Bernie Sanders, I won't say Bernie Sanders radicalized me. I don't think Bernie Sanders radicalized me. I think the establishment more
the reaction to Bernie
radicalized me.
And he was just a person to rally behind, kind of, because, he was better than the rest of the whole lineup of idiots that they put up.
Yeah, like Bernie, like the thing that kind of really woke me up is when I realized that Democrats wasn't like Bernie. Because when I found Bernie, I realized that I was like, oh shit, Bernie is like what I thought Democrats was supposed to be. Like,
it's who they pretend they want to be.
Yeah, like I said, especially before, like it was definitely before 2016, because that when I already made my mind up that I was voting for Joe Stein, because I wish I voted for him in 2012. So I was already outside the Democratic influence before Bernie Sanders. But I remember I was thinking like, yo, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton. I'm voting for Joe Stein. That's what I'm gonna do. And then Bernie hit the stage, and I'm like, fuck, how did I not know this guy? Like I remember I was like, dude, I discovered who Bernie was. Like, dude, how did I not know who this dude was? Because that was around the time when I actually was kind of following politics. And I was like, dude, I can't believe I didn't know this guy. I did my research, and I was like, oh, this is the guy I thought Democrats was this whole time, but they're not. Mm-hmm. So, and what Democrats could have easily won me and the entire generation over. Because imagine if they put the amount of energy behind Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden behind Bernie Sanders. Like, imagine they saw Bernie Sanders and they saw that as a ticket to get into the new generation. Like, imagine them and their entire Democrat operatives and media apparatus was like, yeah, Bernie Sanders, he's gonna win. Like, they propped him up the same way they propped Hillary and Joe Biden did. Because then I could, if they did that.
Shit, they don't give a fuck about the next generation. They on a suicide mission.
Yeah, and that's why I know now based on their action, because if they backed and they didn't rig it against Bernie, I would have been like, okay, at least they give a fuck, at least they care. But when I see that they do everything they can to stop this large multi-racial working class movement of young people that they need to win, I'm like, okay, they must don't give. They rather lose to a fascist than win with a socialist. That's so.
They still won it because Trump is Trump is the fundraiser for the Democrats. With all this, even when Tom Sawyer was doing an impeach Trump shit, he raised millions of dollars off of that shit. All of them, Nancy Pelosi and everybody that's raising money against Trump, even the people that make shirts. The Trump, the niggas on the street. They all make money. The people that sell books, they need Trump in office. They need Trump.
The Lincoln Project.
Yeah,
I've always said.
Joe Biden. They don't push Joe Biden to other voters, to non-voters. But people like, look, man, we got to get Trump out, whatever. They don't want to do any of that. They rather push away voters, potential voters, or people that's going to vote, period, to make sure Trump stay in office. They doing just as much to make sure Trump stay in office than any MAGA hat wearing motherfucker in this country.
Well, yeah, they just straight up don't care who wins. Like, if they win, then cool, they have some more power. If they lose, they get a whole shit ton of money.
Yeah, I've always, well, maybe not always, but in the last year or two, consistently said the Democratic Party needs a bad guy to keep their grift alive, to keep their money flowing.
Yep.
And Trump's the best bad guy they've ever had to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Biden wants to maintain the Republican Party. He's been open about that. Joe Biden literally said, he said, he don't think the Republican Party shouldn't be wiped out. These are the kind of things that they are open about.
I think that applies to the media too. Just thinking about, the platform they gave Trump in 2016 and how every single
amount of free media.
Yeah, I mean, it's every news cycle is centered around what the fuck did Trump say last night? What did he, what crazy shit did he say today? And so they just do that on repeat because that's what gets them ratings. I mean, they make their decisions about what news they're going to cover based on what's going to get them the most ratings, and that's Donald Trump. So that's why we don't have any real meaningful content in the news right now, too.
It all circles back to one thing: capitalism is fucking evil and needs to die. All of it's just like if we got rid of capitalism, it's solved. We're good.
And all these stories of massive corruption that we were talking about, like once again with story, like I think like that's so significant. The article is so long. I almost think I want to do like almost a separate stream on it alone, just where we dive into it in great detail, because this is one of the stories. I mean, it's almost one of the stories of the year. I mean, this year has been crazy, but in any other, I would say in any other year, this would be one of the stories of the year. Let me say that.
Well, that's what I thought would happen with the Panama Papers, but why
the fuck can I find this though?
Tons and tons of rich people laundering money and keeping it offshore and whatever, and we cared for like a day.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up so I can go over it a little bit, because this is so significant.
Anything that's real news may break, but then it goes away.
Bro, they're not even talking about this. That's why I'm like, bro, if you're on the progressive left, and to the credit, like I always seen a lot of great progressive media doing a few stories on this. I think this is something that we should stay on, bro. I don't think we should fucking let this story go.
Should, yeah.
Like this story should not, because this story, it's not like a small. Like this is a study that been compounded over like 2-3 years. That have multiple media outlets, and literally they got confirmed names on the shit. Like they have some person that was, they had some bank account that was transferring like $1 billion, and the bank, I don't remember. Let's say I got to pull the oracle up to get the exact name of the bank, but the bank knew that it was shady. They got a report, and they didn't act on it because they were like, bro, we can make hella money off this shit. We can make hella money off this shit. So
yeah, it all boils down to capitalism.
That is true. If you're looking at all of the motivating forces behind
money.
All of this evil shit that's going on, all of this corruption that's going on, pretty much boils down to that.
Like, I don't want to be that meme of the Latino guy smashing his fist down and saying the problem is capitalism. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I'm going to find it now. But at the same time, I kind of do that.
This is what they're talking about now. I'm trying to find out. I'm finding literally every other article other than the one I want to find. But this is the one that I always follow the fucking CIA Russiagate shit, because you can kind of see how the media operate. I was laughing at this.
Intelligence officials.
Everyone was cracking. I was laughing because people are starting to see through the shit now. The intelligence communities are getting so lazy. They starting to use like the same tactics over and over and over again. So like there was the secret CIA memo was actually trending today, and like everyone was like laughing at him, like, bro, no one buys this shit no more. And this is like the no one
probably
yeah,
emphasis on probably.
Like, what do you mean probably?
Emphasis on anonymous officials.
Like, what do you mean probably? Like that doesn't make fucking sense when you talk about things of this scale. Like
that's probably. I mean, we think maybe.
The CIA is the most powerful intelligence organization on the planet. If they think something's happening, they're going to know more than probably.
Yeah, they would say they had evidence. Like, this is the common thing that everyone know about intelligence communities. If they knew they have actual concrete evidence, they will say so. But they don't have evidence, so they say shit like probably.
I also think it's kind of funny. Just I mean, not that is Russia meddling on social media? Yeah, probably there's some bots, but if that's what you're seriously worried about over all of the other issues with our elections, I hear people like liberals will be complaining about stories like this, and then I go on TV and I see ads from Biden and Trump that are both just blatant lies that are propaganda. It's like, if the whole fucking system is lying to us right now, then I'm not really, couple Russian bots on Twitter are probably not going to swing the election as much as those other problems that we have.
The thing is, like, bro, I never say that the Russian mail-in shit is not fucking real. Like, bro, compared to Israel and compared to Saudi Arabia, bro, this shit is international. Like, you guys, like, the amount of people that are unserious about this shit it blows me away. Because, like, bro,
what is the Russian bot saying to actually swing? And is they telling the truth? Because this the only way. Like, if you was to tell me something, it got to be something on Google, at least one or two articles for a motherfucker to sit here and believe it. Even anti-vaxxers got at least one or two articles on Google. Like, what would the Russian bots be saying to the American voters to sway this election? Is they telling them the truth? What is they saying?
I remember the most famous example was the most famous example was when they did they had a report when they showed the Russian memes that they was posting. It was like stupid shit. It was like a meme of Bernie Sanders buff. And he was like, it's like, bro, no one's been influenced by this shit, bro. And whenever you see people talk about Russian influence, and whenever you talk about Russian bots mailing, you notice that they never specific about what they're actually doing or what they're talking about. Because then whenever they actually bring up the specific examples, it's always like some shit post about some bots with like it'd be like some bots with like 3 followers shit posting. They're like, oh, this guy with 3 followers influenced the election over a multi-billion-dollar campaign. Like, are you kidding me? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. That's why I got no tolerance for it. It really is. Cause you want to tell me that a few people on Twitter, a few trolls, let's say, cause there was a debate over what the exact number was, but let's say the number is I'm being generous. Let's say the budget was 200,000 that they put into this Twitter forum. What is 200,000 of Twitter bots compared to billions and billions of dollars of media apparatus being spent on Joe Biden behalf and Donald Trump's behalf, all the free media coverage they're getting, the influence of Israel, the influence of the UN, the influence of Saudi Arabia, you got all APAC, you got all
on Twitter.
Yeah, you got all these.
I just joined Twitter 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't using Twitter during.
Anyone to vote green or vote for Bernie or any of that. I wasn't even on Twitter for the longest. So how can some bots sway me?
Yeah, I still just don't understand. Like, how do you get swayed by it if you're not already on? Like, if you're that much on the fence to where some random asshole on Twitter can sway you.
I mean, they didn't do their job. So, like, people, they repeat this Russia bot story and Russia gate stories with no fucking critical thinking at all. And despite the history of the CIA and these motherfuckers constantly lying, they can still have like, can you imagine if you know someone who constantly lied to you and shit? Like will constantly tell you some bullshit. Imagine that motherfucker that keep borrowing your money and like, yo, look, I'll pay you back this time, I promise you, bro. And then you just believe in this motherfucker over. That's the CIA. Like, that's the intelligence community. I mean, they constantly they literally have former CIA operatives. You have literally people on the highest levels of the CIA that come out and say, yeah, the intelligence community is literally the community of lying and mass influence. This is not me saying this shit. Like, you have whistleblowers, people that used to work in the CIA, who literally come out and tell us what they're about. They say they're literally a system of lies, influence in the media, getting plants in the media and how they report. I really wish I remember his name. We can do a stream on that alone. There was literally a CIA operator. I don't remember his name, but he was literally outlining this shit. He was like, bro, we literally have people in Hollywood. We had contacts in Hollywood, directors that can make movies on our behalf. We have reporters on the inside on Washington Post where they pass stories to. Once again, I'm gonna do a more comprehensive breakdown. This one I have the actual sources here. But bro, it's like this real shit the CIA does. But you want to believe the Russiagate shit? You want to believe any shit they pushing without evidence? I mean, if they had a mountain of evidence, they had like fucking audio recordings, videos, fucking notes. They had like memo. They had all this shit. Like, all right, I guess you did your research, but they don't even have that. They literally just be like, probably.
Russia.
Probably.
They be like, probably. I mean, you gotta take our word for it. But
my government would never lie to me.
And I can also tell it's not serious in so many cases because it's like the people who will, you know, I mean, I'm sure all of us have at some point online. I know I have like probably literally hundreds of times been called a Russian bot. So it's like, if you're calling me a Russian bot for advocating for Medicare for all or for criticizing Joe Biden in any way, then what are you even talking about? Like, you're just criticizing people who disagree with you and calling them Russian bots. So with my experience and how many times I've experienced that, it kind of got me thinking like, hey, maybe this is fucking nonsense that y'all are talking about here.
It's QAnon for liberals. That's all it is.
Yep. And that's what we're here for. I mean at this point we can kind of wrap. We're about an hour and a half. Like I said, there was an impromptu I think I'm like I said, I got on here called like, brother, so much shit to talk about, so much corruption stories going on. We don't have to do like 3 hours every goddamn time though. But whenever you guys want to jump on, I appreciate you guys being on here. I appreciate you guys checking out the stream as well. Drop it. So anyone got anything y'all want to plug or anything you guys want to talk about before we actually officially end the stream or anything like that?
You know I don't plug anything.
All right, it's all good. Well,
plug your shit, man.
I do. I have something to plug.
Go ahead, brother.
Remember our conversation about having people who want to use progressive policy to move this nation forward?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
A friend and I are starting a pact to do just that.
I remember we actually had a few conversations about how how we about to have like a group of motherfuckers taking over this Washington. Cause I think you said you plan on running, right? Or am I thinking?
I plan on running. My friend, we've recruited enough people now who are true diehard progressives who are solid on policy, even more solid on like ethics and morals. We've recruited enough people that if they all follow through, we could feasibly take every congressional seat and one of the Senate seats in Utah next cycle.
Dude, actually, yeah, let's talk about that then. Cause yeah, that's dope. I remember we talked about it for a little bit, and because people wanted me, because like I said, I floated the idea of potentially running. So I guess we talk about that. I'll probably talk about it, but my thing is like, I definitely, if I've been gifted a platform and I have a ability to run a campaign, I'll do it. It's kind of hard now because I am continuing to lose faith in the electoral system. But
true.
So I remember me and my friend Erica were talking about this. Like, man, we want to run, but it's like, bro, how can we run legitimately in the system that we have a hard time believing in? And
my entire purpose is.
Go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna say my entire purpose, if I was gonna run for electoral office, would be to basically just go and call people out on the Senate floor and run massive campaigns against them and their corruption.
Yeah, so my thing is, people. I'm not dumb. I'm pretty smart, guys. You gotta believe me on that. So when I tell people I'm thinking about running, I looked into this shit. I mean, I looked into my district. Because my thing is, I want to run for something that actually means something. I mean, I'm not saying that local doesn't mean. I mean, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go Congress level, motherfucker. I want to be AOC. Like that, that's one thing. I'm not saying that local races don't matter. City council, it does. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, my congressperson is Emmanuel Cleaver. He's a big Black Congressional Caucus shill, big corporate guy. And the last time he had his primary, he won by like 80% of the vote. And honestly, if you look at my district, if you run against Cleaver and you're not a Democrat, it's suicide. So I'm like, damn, I don't want to run as a Democrat, bro. I don't want to run as a Democrat. Like, I would love to run as a the thing is, I would love to run as a People's Party candidate or a Green Party candidate. But honestly,
we all need to get out there and just run under People's Party. If everybody just run on People's Party, we'd get enough, and we get, you know what I'm saying, knowledge. At least we'd get our voices out there and be like, damn, that was quick. Like, all right, they're really trying to,
I want to talk to the leader. I want to talk to the leader some more because they said they got plans for running candidates in 2022. I mean,
they've been doing some kind of shady shit though.
Yeah,
they have.
My boy DJ Elf was talking about that, so I need to talk to him a little bit more.
Yeah, he's getting fucked over by People's Party.
Yeah,
all because he wants Assange to be on the platform.
So I'm like, man, I see what they're talking about, but it's like, I would hate to like run a campaign and waste a lot of people's time and take their money, and I don't really have a chance to win. Because the thing is, like, my district is heavy Democrat. Well, I think literally people will vote blindly as Democrat. So
yeah, that's the same here. The sheriff.
It's the opposite where I live.
Yeah, I remember we was
blindly Republican.
Yeah, I remember that's why your plan of potentially having progressives run as Republican. I'm not opposed to that because if you can take over if you can have progressives running as Republican, taking over your Republican party in the local area, because a lot of people don't realize that one of the reasons why I don't have the Trump derangement syndrome is that large thing about politics is that politics is largely about local area. Federal politics is a matter of lot in life, but in terms of what the bulk of what happens in your life, a lot of it is local. So if you can run progressive, we can get left-wing people in a Republican local area, I'll take that. Are you kidding me? I'll take that. If that's that's your path to victory. I mean, my path to victory may be in the Democratic Party, like to be honest. And once again,
if I ran here, it has to be Democrat because the same deal. My representative is Gwen Moore, who's part of the Congressional Black Caucus, who needs to go.
Yeah, the thing is, like, running as a Democrat make my skin crawl, man. I hate it.
I mean,
and the thing is, I definitely burn bridges too.
Because I was about to say that when you run, you definitely gonna have to go hard against everything moving because they're gonna bring up your Twitter.
Hell yeah.
They're gonna bring up your Twitter. They're gonna be like, oh, he's against this, he's against that. And,
bro, they'll pull all my tweets talking shit about Democrats. They got literally endless amount of ammo. So I was like, bro, I definitely burn.
You would just have to dive into it. You would.
I double down. I don't give a fuck. Like, my thing is, because if I did run, I would
kill the party from the inside.
Like I said, I looked into it. Like, if I ran against Cleaver, I'm attacking them on the Heroes Act. I'm attacking them on COVID. Kansas City was one of the highest impacted city on COVID. The Black African American community, we died 2 times higher at a higher rate than white people. Kansas City is a city with 30% black population, 3 times higher than national average. So we have a large black voting base. So if I ran against him, I would attack him on his corporate bailouts, his failure to respond to COVID, and I think I can beat him by doing that. The thing is, he got a lot of influence, and I burned a lot of bridges. So if I ran against Cleaver, you realize they would have literally the whole squad would come after. Like, they would have everyone, bro. Like, I already they hate me. Like, I'm blocked by almost like the entire blue left Twitter. So when I run, they would have to unblock me, and then they would start going after me. So like I said, I like people think I'm just talking shit on Twitter. Dude, I actually looked into this. I talked to people that could be possible campaign managers, and I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna do this shit if I don't stand a chance. So. I'm still in the early stage. I don't talk about this shit a lot, so consider this breaking, guys. So I don't talk. So my thing is like after the election, I'm gonna have a commission. I'm looking to this shit, but I'm not gonna run if I don't have a win because I don't want you guys to donate to my campaign. I don't want you guys to phone bank for me when I don't have a chance. That's stupid. I hate that. Made me seem like I'm doing it for. I'm not doing this shit for fun. I'm doing it because I've been given the opportunity to do it. So if I can win, I do it. But if I can't, and I don't think I got the support, I'm not gonna take your donations. I'm not gonna take your money. I'm not gonna take your time that you can spend with your kids. So that's how I feel about potentially running since we brought it up. But I know you have your squad. And I'll say if I run, I'll definitely be part of your squad. I know we were brainstorming names and shit. It's like your team, and I'll talk to Erica and United Left. They got a lot of people, bro. A lot of people don't realize the fucking storm that they unleashed with how they radicalize our generation. They're a motherfucker. I don't want to like blow a lot of people up, but I know a lot of people that motherfucker about will run in 2022 and 2024 who had no interest in politics until they screwed Bernie Sanders 2 times. So once again, we took this L this year, but they fucked up. Like they opened there's a bottle that just opened that not closed, and that's what Chomsky said. That was Bernie's biggest sin, was awakening and starting this movement. So once again, I told you I don't cancel Bernie because I got a lot of criticism of him. But at the end of the day, he started this movement, and we take this shit home. We take this shit home, no matter whether if you want to sign with Biden, that's fine. We run our own candidates that fight this system.
Yeah, I mean, he explicitly said, "Don't let him tell you how to vote," and then like the slogan, "Not me, us." It's never been about Bernie. It's been about the policies. Just because he folded doesn't mean we can't put someone else up there.
Right.
Yeah. So anything else you want? Go ahead, brother.
I hate to, it seems so counterintuitive, but Republicans run fair primaries. Exit polling shows they don't flip votes.
Dude, I can see that.
They're way more responsive to their base than Democrats would ever even be willing to be. That's why
QAnon people get in. Yeah. That's why
QAnon is succeeding. So if we had that same energy in red strongholds, but as progressives, I feel like rather than trying to force the Democrats to go left, why not reform the GOP? In the sense of where it makes sense strategically, where you have a path to victory if you're a red.
Yeah, like deep
red is a progressive red.
Yeah, like deep red. Like if we can win, have you win?
I agree with that. I mean, I've been said that.
Yeah.
I even did a show on it and said a lot of progressives need to just lead the Democratic Party. If you white in a red state, run as a Republican. It'd be easier for you to win.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans have their own brand of identity politics, but I can pass that gauntlet, and so can everyone I've recruited. So we just have to activate people with policy and talk to the Republicans in a way that they can understand it.
Yeah, one of my main priorities and one of the people that I'm working with an activist that's starting a group trying to get ranked choice voting really pushed in. And I think that should be one of the most important. That's literally should be the main point at the left right now, because if we have ranked choice voting, that helps us get every other progressive policy in. It makes it so I won't be in a position where I'm like, fuck, the only way I can run is as a Democrat. Or if you're in an area like, fuck, the only way I can run is as a Republican. Because when you have ranked choice voting, it literally put third parties on the even playing scale. Because even if you like a Republican or you like a Democrat, if you like, fuck, I'd rather third party win, you can rank the third party first, and then you can rank the Democrat over the Republican if you want them to win. And that's why the Green Party been making a lot of great gains in Maine, because Maine is the state they put ranked choice voting in. And now Democrats are doing everything they can to fight ranked choice voting and fight the Green Party because they see it as a threat. They wouldn't spend any resources fighting this shit if we wasn't a threat. So this is why I don't understand people. Go ahead, brother.
Sorry. I was just gonna say on your note about the Democrats fighting the Green Party, Democrats wouldn't be fighting to pull the Greens off the ballot as they have successfully done in 2 states now if their internal polling didn't show that the Greens were going to have a significant showing this election.
Yeah, I actually tweeted about that. I was like, you notice that they stopped asking about third party voters, right? And then when I remember I tweeted, everyone was like, "Oh shit, actually has been a while." I was like, I'm curious to see. They literally stopped asking about it, because I remember the Green Party was like at 3% or something like that, which is not great, but it's more. They were much more than it was in 2016. That was literally in like in May or something. That was like the last poll I seen. The Libertarian Party was like at 9%. Like, bro, it was crazy. And then after I saw that poll, I never seen another poll with them asking third parties ever again.
Yeah, they want them to go away. I mean, my state's one of the ones that the Green Party got taken off. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm still writing them in. Like, there's absolutely no way that once they do that, I'm going to vote Democrat. Like, do you think taking away my choice is going to get me to vote for you? If Trump wasn't such a piece of shit, I would spite vote Republican.
Man.
Yeah, it's like, bro, it's like,
who you telling? Because some days I get on the internet, I'll be like, man, you know what? Fuck all y'all motherfuckers.
I love when Ron be going off.
Like, man, y'all don't know me, like, man.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna be one of the people suffering from. Well, all of us are, but like at the same time, fuck off.
I tell people, you know, I'm not ashamed to say it. Like, shit, I live better under Trump than I lived under any Democrat.
I'm sure there's a lot of people.
I don't care. Like, shit, my life, shit. I'm in a condo now, all kind of shit. Like, man, what? I got my life together, and this nigga giving out all that unemployment money out. Shit, I'm off, man. Come on, man. Fuck out of here. Democrats ain't never did nothing.
My thing is I always tell people like, man, I look like Kansas City has been blue control state my whole life because Missouri is red state, Kansas is red state, but Kansas City is actually a really progressive city. We actually passed and our mayor supported a Green New Deal. We had a passage that was about I'm trying to think of it. Fuck. It was like it was like living rights, like anti-eviction laws. Like we actually did a lot of progressive. I think a housing bill of rights. That's what I'm thinking of. We passed like a housing bill of rights. I don't know where like that was like last year. I don't know exactly where it is in the legislative process. My point is, Kansas City is actually progressive. Like if you actually, we always vote for Medicaid expansions. We always vote for legalized weed. Like we actually are in front. Like Casey Sunrise is pretty big here. But even with that said, KC is a blue city shithole. Like, and this is the point that a lot of black people bring up. Like, bro, look at blue ran cities. Look at cities that are ran by Democrats. Look at California, a Democrat majority.
Look at Detroit. Look at
so like, bro, I get your point, Ron, when you say that shit because, like, bro, white liberals always mute black leftists because we tell them the reality of what the Democratic cities look like, and then they don't like that shit.
Said, "Oh, you're using Republican talking point." It just said this to me.
Bro, they get mad at me when I say.
What are you talking about? I live here.
Yeah, it's not a talking point. It's their experience.
Bro, they get mad at me when I use the plantation line. Like, I don't care for the plantation. That shit is a beautiful line because it's so accurate. It's accurate because there's our niggas that's on the plantation. Because what do you call it when our wealth was tanked under Joe Biden and Barack Obama? And the racial income inequality gap got worse because the average black wealth before Barack Obama got in, it was like $10,000, which was already less. It was 10-1 to white families. White families was like 120,000. Ours was 10,000. So even before the stealing of our wealth, we was on a plantation. Even before that. So then the Democrats get in, and they were like, well, we could do better than that. We can do better what George Bush left us with. And we went from $10,000 average wealth, which is horrific. And we at 1,000. We lost our wealth 10-1. Yeah. So what do you call that other than a plantation when you got niggas still voting for the Democrats, think they're going to do anything for our community? That's a plantation. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Republicans.
Joe Biden left after Obama is a black Reagan, basically.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you? And he ran on progressive ideas. He ran on Medicaid expansion and all this crap. If he ran to the right, what the fuck is Joe Biden is going to be Hitler then? If y'all say
exactly. So I'm like, bro, the thing is, if liberals come out with an insult that's really good against the right wing, I use it. Shit. Like they come up and they actually they come up with some good insult. I'm gonna use it. So if the right wing come up with an insult with Democrats, I'm sorry guys, that plantation shit lands. That shit's good. And just like when I use Democrat talking points against Republicans sometimes, I'm going to use that one against Democrats because I'm sorry, that shit is literally on the money. Whoever thought that one up, whatever Republican think tank thought that shit up, because it wasn't Candace Owens, it was definitely a think tank. Whoever did that, you guys was on the money. You guys should use that more often because that's exactly what it is. And so you guys get mad at me for using that all one, but I weaponize Democrats and liberal stupidity.
There's a lot to weaponize.
So anything else, guys?
Well, liberals
go ahead, bro.
Are on the whole Hitler, Biden, Trump thing. Liberals, including Jeff Tiedrich, are like rehabilitating Hitler now, saying at least he liked dogs, at least he painted a little, at least he read and wrote his own book.
So
like what?
Imagine trying to rehabilitate fucking Hitler. Like how?
And they're doing it.
I would Trump. Like if that was my job and like I had a gun to my head, go ahead and fucking pull the trigger.
Thank God for the internet, bro. Thank God, because like, fuck, like the people are so brainwashed by the media and it hurts. Like it hurts so bad.
Yeah, because all this Trump, they be getting Trump pushed in their head for 4 years straight now. Mm-hmm. Everything. They don't even hear the shit that's happening over in the Middle East, you know, the fracking. They don't hear nothing about the protestings, really. They hear all the bad stuff. You know, they don't hear about what the protesters want.
Yeah, that's the media
Shit
does.
like that.
Here is
all about Trump.
police station down.
So now when they step out of their liberal bubble and their democratic bubble and they come and talk to people on the left and the right, and we're like, no. They're like, what's wrong? What's the problem here?
Fucking
What's the fucking problem? Go the fuck away.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean talking about
they just need the different outlets of media, man, because that's why I always push independent media on my family. Like, stop watching CNN.
Yep.
Y'all niggas stay brainwashed. Y'all niggas gonna stay brainwashed if y'all keep watching CNN and MSNBC. Oh, I thought Fox was bad. Nah, nigga, all that shit.
Bro, they poisoned the liberal boomer mind. I always make this analogy because, like, man, I remember when I grew up in the 90s pretty much. When I was a kid and I was a teenager throughout the early 2000s. So it was like, I remember the attacks they used to make on video games. They're like, man, video games is going to poison the mind of the youth. It's like, bro, everything that they said that video games was going to do to us, mainstream media did to boomers and did to their generation, because they got them motherfuckers violent. Them motherfuckers ready to shoot us. Them motherfuckers are unhinged. Like, these liberals that watch MSNBC and CNN, these old white ladies, they be calling me Uncle Tom. They don't give a fuck. They get racial. They like, no, fuck y'all. I said what I said. Like, you see these white Karens, bro? That shit's MSNBC. Like, bro, that shit didn't happen on accident. Bro, that shit happened because he been watching Rachel Maddow every day. And then you wonder why they calling us Russian bots. They calling us Russian bots because Rachel Maddow told them to.
Yeah, everyone that
is a Russian bot. Don't forget the blacks that be tap dancing for these motherfuckers.
Oh, hell yeah.
Tap dance on MSNBC and make these whites feel like they have a right to come and disrespect black people with a different opinion and different views than them. So that's a big problem too with the Jason Johnson and Whoopi Goldberg.
And they let them on TV too. Those are the niggas they let on TV. The people,
because they gonna tap dance all day. Oh, you gonna give me $10,000 to say, black women is whatever the fuck you said.
You saw all the black people. The black people, they sold out quick to Bloomberg on TV. Jason Johnson, he got on Bloomberg and was sucking them off on live TV. He was like, "I'm making that money." Like, those are the people.
Joy
who
Reid say that too. Joy Reid was talking about
Reid.
how people. She was like, "Yeah, I've been talking to people recently, and they're all on board with Bloomberg."
Yeah, it's like, bro, fuck out. And then they'll literally try to make that pitch that black people would like a Bloomberg. Like, nigga, we don't fuck with Bloomberg, bro. Are you kidding me?
Why the hell would black people like someone who's got how many billions of dollars or millions, whatever, insanely rich white dude that owns?
I still don't know how Dr. Cornel West gets in, because he like the only nigga that they let slip in that's not a piece of shit.
He's got some like crazy different god to like.
Because he was like the first black Harvard professor. I think that's why he got in. But he's like the only one. Any other black person you see on TV, he's like the only exception. Everyone else is like, bro, where the fuck you find this nigga at every single time? Even we can bring up the big name like Joy-Ann Reid and Jason Johnson and Zerlina Maxwell. Those are the big names. But I even see like the small ones, like the up and comers. Like, I would see the people I'll never see them. I'm like, who the fuck is it? Where the fuck they find this nigga from, bro? Like, even the new people you don't even know. Every time I see a new black face, it's always the same shit. It's just a new Zerlina Maxwell. It's a new Joy-Ann Reid. So I'm like, oh my god, it's the same niggas from the same plantation that they found somewhere.
Like trying to recruit more people. Oh, this person sees cool. Like, man, get the fuck out of here. I ain't listening. None of y'all motherfuckers. All y'all is what they called, what was that Boondocks episode? Freeman Texas.
Yeah, I love that show, bro. I fucking love that show. But anyway, I'm gonna call the stream. We almost at 2 hours in. I think I'm gonna have